Hello, in the previous episode I built a snow diorama with space for a Viking house. Today I'm gonna build that house. Here is my epic plan for this build, quite sophisticated. I started with barbecue sticks. These should work well as wooden logs. Luckily, I won't have to build any foundation, because the lower part of the house will be covered in snow. I got plenty of 5 cm bits to begin with. Good, that should be enough. I took some longer bits and built a simple frame for the vertically placed logs. Superglue was great for this. The corner bits were first glued on. I used superglue activator to make it easier. Then I checked if everything is at level. I made some adjustments and then attached the frame onto the diorama. This time I used PVA glue. Next I could easily glue on my sticks. What I'm building is a fantasy version of a Viking house. I'm not quite sure if they ever put the logs in this way. I did see some potential historically accurate images where they did. Anyway, I do it like this because it's easy. And of course, I use lots of glue. I trimmed the sticks to equal height and then continued by creating a frame for the roof. I made the top beam curved, because I saw it in an image. Realistically, it would support more weight than a straight one. Before making the roof, I also built the top walls, now placing the logs in a horizontal position. It would have been smarter to make these longer to begin with. They would have been easy to cut into roof shape. But this is how I do it now. Next we have oat packages, also known as cardstock. I cut nice bits to cover the roof. They are curved as well. That's why it was easier to attach them with hot glue. Let's build higher. I glued together a frame for the top of the house. This is where the smoke would come out from, if there was any smoke. Inside this house there is no fire, just snow. I built the walls as before. To get away with crooked constructions, you can use the camera angle to your advantage. They'll never know. Good, I cut out another smaller curved roof for this one. There shall also be a tiny roof here. Okay, next I took a few craft sticks. I made these ridiculously large plank thingies for the edges of the roof. I might be able to paint some engravings on these. On the tiny roof I just placed 2 barbecue sticks. I then added a bit of texture by shaving off wood from the edges. Okay, shingles. Wouldn't it be epic if we made these from actual wood? Of course, I took a little log and started working with the kitchen knife. Then I cut the shavings into suitable shingle size. Well, now I actually have to do this. I started. It will probably take a few days. I laid the shingles on, 1 row at a time. This will surely look good but will take like 5 times longer than my usual cardstock roof. However, laying on the shingles is easy, as it is alright to create a messy look. I left the top just like that. It looks pretty good. After a long time, I was almost done. This was definitely worth it. I cleaned up and started painting these Viking miniatures while the glue dried. I maximized enjoyment and painted by the fire. I started with a black base coat and peasant level zenithal highlight. This should help me get a quick and good paint job. I painted with a get shit done attitude. A few good colors, teal and orange work well. I made these minis on the Eldritch Foundry. There you can get your custom minis as well, and you can also get print files for your printer, quite cheap. I quickly highlighted most things after getting all the base colors done. Then I slapped on some wash. After a few further highlights, I called it done. They probably look better on the diorama. I continued by adding a dark oil wash on the entire house. This is just oil paint plus white spirit. The dark wash flows almost by itself into all cracks and crevices, which makes the wood look great. Look at that. I almost forgot the door. I'll make it soon. After covering everything, I remove some excess wash of highlights. Works best with some white spirit on the paper. Okay, next I made myself a simple door from craft sticks. I glued on a small bit as an excuse for a door handle. I glued the door planks on and then applied the wash. Next I quickly painted a few prints I got from the Printing Goes Ever On. Thank you. Some barrels and crates, a cat and a dog is just what we need for this build. I applied some colors and highlights on the dark brown base coat, then used washes. I have no idea of how to paint animals. I just did something to see what happens. Well, I glued on the barrels and animals after searching for the cat for 10 minutes. After that, I covered up with snow. I applied glue and sprinkled on baking soda. Damn, that cat is ugly. The snow was good for hiding bad gaps between some shingles. After covering everything, including the foundation, I also partially covered the bases of the miniatures with snow. I also painted some symbols on the ridiculously large plank thingies. These aren't proper runes and mean nothing. Sadly, I had nothing politically incorrect to say today. I took the diorama out to get natural light. Looks good. It's funny, I have put very little effort into details, but it still works great. Consider this when crafting. If you get the large things done well enough, but using the simplest methods, your brain will do the rest and paint the final picture. Usually we're not actually observing what's before us, we're simply looking at what our brain has interpreted. That's especially true when you're playing and have your terrain on the table. Well, thanks for watching. Make sure to also watch episode 1 if you haven't. Subscribe and like if you enjoyed the content. To To support my channel, you can get miniatures from the Eldritch Foundry or join me on Patreon. Goodbye.